So obviously we have this movie. Sean Penn's directorial sort of presence is sort of very like, oh wow, it's Sean Penn. Um, and I love Sean Penn, but for some reason this movie just kind of doesn't go as it should do. I mean, 75 minutes is great, and you're like, oh, this is powerful. This visually, it's amazing, and all that's in check, and everything's ticking all the boxes for a great film. And then for some reason, it just decides to go off, and then la di da, it's ego around and just it's in love with itself. It's basically it's a bit like somebody kissing someone for an amount of time and going on until I don't know from sort of dusk until dawn, like 10 hours. It feels like it's all just going on and going on. I love you. It's like no, stop it. What are you doing? I mean, it does start off well and it sustains that for quite some time, but then it just goes on and goes on and go. What? Stop it! And it's like I get the point of the film, I get the point of the character, I get what's going on. Why does it need to go on for so long? Oh, I mean, honestly, if you want to find a film to give you a migraine, then sign this film up for you. I mean, it's just boring that it goes on, and I understand that, oh, hang on, let's bring back some characters and all that, and that's all fine, but couldn't you sort of bring them back in a way that makes sense? Like, I don't know, end the film, or make it so that he gets to write his book, or something like that, but for some reason, it's like this gaping hole that just look down it, and it's like, oh, hang on, there's nothing really going on there, and I just felt like watching the rest of the film up to the point where it was great, it just descended into this thing of not being very interesting and just yeah, it's kind of seen this now. And all the visual stuff, like you had it thrown at you. It was like in the candy store of just oh here we go, more. No, I've had enough. Stop it. I don't want more after I've had so much already. And here's the frustrating thing that well, it reminds me of Colors in a way. That Colors of the stuff that was really great in it, but then I know obviously it didn't sustain greatness for a long time and just kind of stayed around being mediocre. But then it got quite boring. And then with this film, it kind of a little bit similar in that there's lots of stuff in there. You think, oh, that's great, and yeah, it's great for all that time, which Colors didn't have. But then it gets quite boring. And like with Colors, obviously there was that thing of well, there are bits that they were really exciting, and then bits that were really boring. And it was the odd film to score because it just had all that stuff in it that was interesting, and then it had stuff and it was really crap and just kind of what boring. What develop the characters, do something, and obviously this is a sort of minimalistic kind of movie. It's indie, but indie films kind of bore me sometimes, and I'm sorry, but sometimes they do. I mean. There are lots of great ones out there, but there's some like, and I'm sorry, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I have to say it sometimes he's in some indie films that make no sense for why they exist. I mean, you got the great ones like 500 Days of Summer and loads of great ones and all that, but then for some reason he's in some that are just really annoying and stupid. Like, for example, Hesher and Brick and what was that one? That one where he's in the psych ward thing, or I don't know. That was just a bit bizarre and he's in lots of good films, but those were kind of just not interesting, just boring. And yeah, that was bizarre. And this movie in that is it is bizarre. I mean, it is independent, but the kind of wrong independent. I mean, there's lots of power that independent films have that some big budget blockbuster films don't have sometimes. Like when there's too much thrown at the screen and there's no character development and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, what are you doing? But I do enjoy blockbuster films, I do enjoy independent films, but some I don't. And for some reason, this movie sort of it starts off as a really good independent film, then it kind of just descends into something from a film festival. And like some people might go, "Oh, it's great," but then other people go, "I don't know," and it's just boring because and disappointing because I mean, and also annoying. It's kind of like Barton Fink because obviously Barton Fink had all that promise, then it just kind of flushed down the toilet. Um, so yeah, lots of similarities with films that started off really well, then kind of just went, you know, and well, colors didn't really start off great. Like I say, it was just kind of mediocre. But here's the thing: if you're going to make a really good film, then stick to making a really good film. If you're going to make something that goes on far too long for no reason, then don't bother. I mean, it's obviously I guess film is subjective and things are all great with that, but this isn't the way to do it. And I know obviously a lot of people disagree because they say this is a great film, but I just went on too long for me. And I can say like, people say to me, "Oh, it's really good that you can say that there are things that you really like and there are things that you really don't like. You know what you like." And there are a lot of things I didn't like about this, but for some reason, it just kind of throws it all away.